All right. So I got a 11:06, and that's 5:06 your time, 5:06 p.m. the day before. All right.
Rock out.
So,
Easy. Yeah.
off day, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're excited to have Mr. Popović here to speak to everyone. As again, we're just going to go over a few ground rules, but I'll make this a little bit quicker. Just remember, just mute your mics. If you have any questions, just send them to either myself, Iris, or Jaren for your SBPA Connect team, and we will ask Mr. Popović the questions in the order that we receive them. It's nice to see everyone's faces, so please show your cameras. And I mean, that's all I have to say. So aside from that, I'd like to introduce the Dean of the School of Business and Public Administration, Dr. Annette T. Santos.
Papa Day, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? Could I just see like a thumbs up or a heart sign? Excellent. So it's really nice to see everyone. If you can turn your cameras on, that makes it even more engaging and interactive. But I hope that everyone is doing well and that your loved ones are as well. Over the past 8 months, we have been challenged to come up with a personal response strategy to adjust to this evolving condition of our environment. And over time, the words unprecedented, difficult, challenging times, they all started to sound like a broken record. At least to me, it does. So for most of us, the call for change was familiar, right? On Guam, we know what it's like to prepare for disruption. Tropical storms and typhoons are good examples of responding to change, flexibility, adaptation, creativity, and innovation. How can we be more prepared? How can we make boarding up easier? How can we minimize the impact of destruction? And how do we coexist in the midst of the storm, right? We get cooped up in our homes. What do we do? So the question is, how do you choose to respond in these times? You know, our views and our philosophies, they dramatically affect the way that we perceive the world around us. And I always like to reference Stephen Covey because he's my man. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We see the world not as it is, but as we are. So think about that for a moment, right? We affect the way we think, and that all, you know, the law of attraction. So our life experiences basically shape how we see things. They become our truth. And when we describe things, we are in effect describing ourselves, our perceptions, and our paradigms. So understanding what drives our thoughts and actions dictates how we traverse through new environments. And at the School of Business and Public Administration, our role is even more important during times like this. We must be forward-thinking, solution-centric. Our faculty, our academic programs, our activities focus on providing experiences that are relevant, meaningful, and of high quality. So every semester, for our visitors, Fanochanan is fall semester and Fanyam Nukken is spring semester. So every semester I host this Dean Speaker Series where I feature distinguished leaders and professionals. And apropos to this current environment, I've asked you to speak about leading through uncertainty and building resilience. So I'm interested to see how that's tied into what you do naturally, creativity and innovation. And so this is integral to learning, the climate of learning at SBPA. And we're hoping that there's a great opportunity here to integrate theory with practice through your presentation and interactions today. So I encourage everyone to participate in the conversation, participate in the activities. It sounds like we're going to have a good time. We're going to be jolted out of our comfort zone, I hope. And so we have an opportunity to engage with our speaker and his team, and we welcome all of you. And Kevin, maybe you can introduce them. So my transition is sloppy here. So it's my pleasure to welcome Kevin Popović and the idea guy and his team. Kevin, you can tell us about yourself. I think you'll do a better job than I will. I've got your little bio here, but I'm happy to have you. I welcome you, and I welcome all our audience here at the university. So thank you for being here.
Dr. Santos, thank you so much for your gracious invitation. I invited to meet Dr. Kreese, as well as students and faculty of the University of Guam. I will recognize my colleague Lori Clark, who's hiding in the audience. Lori is one of my partners from the Social Policy Institute at San Diego State University. Lori and I and some of her team members have collaborated on a number of projects, both internally and externally. She will be a friend in the audience and also an invited contributor, as you may see fit, Lori, because Lori always makes my presentations better. She's a very good partner to have in crime. I'm glad that you could squeak me in here. We have a couple other people lurking in the shadows. We'll wait for them to pop on, and we'll address them as they come up. But then again, welcome to my presentation. And Julian, I want to give a big shout out to being a good sport, trying to help me figure stuff out here, putting together some promos, and making it a little easier for me to do my job today. Julian, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. There you go. So as I was preparing for today, obviously I wanted to bring value to the time that we've got together. And I thought that there was a lot of lessons learned. Julian told me that he thought process may be well received. So as is my way, I made a Franken presentation, a little bit of a both, because I think that I've organized well, and being from the East Coast of the United States, we speak pretty fast. So I have every confidence that I will get through my 47 slides in the allotted time today. But do note, don't worry about trying to write stuff down. I want you to stay present, me and you, and you and you and you. Stay present today. I'm going to give you a copy of the deck afterwards. So you can go through it, deconstruct it, and like, oh my God, what's that thing he said? You have it all. And if you have questions, just ask, right? This is an opportunity for us to initiate a relationship. I will give to you, you will give me feedback, and good things will happen. Isn't that how it all works, right? So today's title comes from one of the lessons, which is Inspiration Isn't Manageable and Eureka Doesn't Scale. 7 mission critical lessons learned from serving CEOs from more years than most of you have been alive. So let me get through a couple of my slides here for you. So I am the idea guy, and this really is my license plate. Lori can attest to that. There's a funny story on how I got it, but I will tell you that I got it. And the first day that I got it, I pull up to a red light, and some guy's like beeping at me, and I'm like, who did I cut off? And he's like, roll your window down. And I'm like, what's up? He goes, are you the idea guy? I'm like, yeah. He goes, can I tell you my idea? And ever since I put this out here, I'm like the Dr. Phil of ideas. When people get a business card or they see like, you know, some of my shameless marketing swag, people want to share my ideas, which is part and parcel what the brand is and what I have fun doing. But I literally am the idea guy. I even have like the registration mark, like literally the idea guy. My background is marketing and communications. Again, long before most of you were born, I created Idea House, which is a creative communications agency. Later in my academic career, I founded the Idea Lab, part of the Zone Innovation Platform at San Diego State. So for my whole career, I have been coming up with new ideas that solve problems of one type for another. My forthcoming book, How to Be the Idea Guy, will be my 3rd published book. And it's just documenting all the processes and things that I learned. I'm a very process-driven person. I like to talk about the things that I like to do as well. Right? This is the TEDx that some of you shared with me that you had got a chance to see. And the reason I share all this stuff with you is for context, right? Often when we attend a webinar or a presentation, you know, somebody says, hey, you got to go to this thing, and you registered because somebody told you, and now you're like, why should I listen to this guy? This is why you should listen to me, because I know way more than you about this, and it's what I've done my whole life, and I'm trying to make you better than I am. Like most of the educators that you'll meet through the universities, our job is to help you grow on our shoulders to make you more than us. So please do not misconstrue any of this as ego. I just want you to know who the guy telling you to do things is. I had the honor of being the focus of an article in Alaska Airlines magazine, which we'll reference here later. And this really kind of documented what we were doing in the university and at San Diego State. And this will be the basis of some of the things I share with you today, right? So again, it's not like, hey, some guy figured some stuff out. Well, somebody thought it was cool enough to put it in the magazine. So again, for context, you know, evaluate it with all the other resources that you have. Today, we're going to do 3 things. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to tell you 7 critical lessons that I learned working from CEOs for a lot of years. I'm going to share a little bit of the context for the lesson and the people involved, as well as a process related to each of the lessons that I have. Okay, sound good? Who's excited? Raise your hand if you're super excited. I know I am too, right?
Mr. Popović, your slides aren't showing.
What?
I
You
think
know, this is where share. Julian, you got to tell me this when I start talking and stuff.
sure, I was engaged already. That's the.
Man, so look, the slides, right? So slide. There's the idea guy. See that? Now it gets even better when you can see it. Thank you. All right, idea guy, logos, book, me on stage, the article. This is where we're at. Okay, let's just pick up from here. Right. So what I'd like to know first, right, is besides why Julian didn't tell me my slides weren't showing, was really who is in the room, right? So here, there you go. So if you would please, in 25 words or less, using the chat provided, tell me who you are, go. Student, faculty, administrator, community member, entrepreneur, other. David, nobody's just an IT guy. Here you go. Staff, administrator, student, staff, faculty, staff, student, administrator, student. There you go. There's student. All right, 5 seconds, get your last answers in. Thank you for playing the game. Thanks, well, it looks like we've got quite a lot of students. We've got some staff. We've got some faculty and some others. Thank you for providing me a little insight of what we got going on today. So as we get started here, I want to kind of open this up from the first lesson that I think I really learned in working with CEOs, and that's every business leader has a problem, and every one of them can be solved with a good idea. Often I deal with CEOs from B2B, B2C, nonprofit, big organizations, small organizations, and every one of them have a problem. Some will call it a challenge, some people think it's cute and they'll call it an opportunity, right? But nonetheless, they're problems, right? And it's problems that are looking for solutions. So that's a lot of what my responsibility is within an organization, is to help them figure out what are they going to do about this, right? And one of the things that I learned is if a CEO tells you, he or she tells you that they don't have a problem, I often find that that's a problem, right? Because I've never found a situation where somebody had some kind of problem, right? And the problem usually is around that new idea. Why they don't have new ideas is they don't have a process for creating new ideas, right? So this is a basic process for ideation, and it's based on some design thinking kind of a construct. But in the very simplest sense, everything starts with a conversation, right? Whether you're going to start it or somebody else is going to start it, there has to be a conversation. From that conversation, you have to be able to derive a problem. You have to be able to say, oh, that's the problem. Right? And then from that problem, you have to figure out how am I going to solve that problem. You have to execute that plan, and then you have to share the potential solution out into the universe in order to see, did you solve the problem? Right? Now, I'm continually amazed to see that many CEOs do not have a process or really an understanding of how to go about solving the problem. They often revert to, well, I'll figure it out because I'm the CEO. Well, that's not necessarily your job as a CEO. Your job is to facilitate the process. It's about that. Or you'll get somebody else within, well, I think we should do this. And then the person with the most power and control starts forcing their idea down. But I find most of them don't have a process, and most of them don't follow a process. So the lesson from this is to make sure that that you can identify the problems and that you have a process for moving forward. Now, fun fact, your first idea is statistically never your best idea, right? So, how many times have you been in a group in school and somebody says, oh, we have to come up with an idea for a class project. And you're like, I have an idea, and you're like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's run with that one. Statistically, it's not your best idea. I'm just letting you know. So the next time that you do that, don't run with the first idea. You want to go to more of a divergent thinking, which is a lot of ideas, and then you have things to pick from, right? But all too often, I find somebody that polished off an old idea that someone had before that they never used and said, oh, well, hey, remember that idea? We never did anything. Let's do that idea. Well, that's not really the right idea for any problem. Or they just go with the first one and they think, now we can move on, right? So has anybody had any experience with somebody saying, oh, I had the first idea and you just run with it and something bad happened? Dr. Santos? Yep. Anybody else? Okay. That's my first lesson I want you to learn. Any questions or comments about this? I'm going to just take a couple of like 15, 30 seconds of each of these because I don't want them all to run together. But about this idea, right? Every business leader has a problem and every one of them can be solved with a good idea. Who believes this to be a true statement? Anybody not believe this? Iris, I'm looking at your hand too. I can see you. All right, buddy. Right? Does anybody not believe this to be a true statement? Usually there's somebody in there, right? I find that even being able to come into with this much of a process is more than people have. So when you come into an entrepreneurial situation, even a class project, try something as simple like this that says, this goes first, this goes second, this goes third, okay? And I will look for you reports that says, hey, KP, that process really worked. Thanks for sharing. Okay? So let's get to the next thing, right? If your company does not have a process for creating new ideas, your company isn't likely to have any, right? So often I see somebody saying, geez, why do Apple always have the big ideas? Oh, how come I didn't think about that? It's because organizations don't have a process, right? So within that article with Alaska, right, this was the variation of design thinking that I had presented. And how many people are familiar with design thinking? Raise your hand, please. Okay, so design thinking is another creative process, a bit more formalized and advanced than the first one I shared with you. But the difference in this one is step number 6 in share. So very quickly, this process, which will satisfy why your company doesn't have any new ideas, which take you through empathize, which is understanding the audience, developing an emotional connection with the people involved in your problem, defining the problem, making sure that you best understand the problem statement that you're trying to solve. You move into ideate, which generate a bunch of ideas. You prototype them, you test them, which to me sounds very internal, and then you share them, which to me sounds external, to see what happens, right? So again, as an additional process, something a bit more complex, this is something that I strongly believe in as a process for being able to consistently generate new ideas that solve problems within an organization. Right? Does anybody, Dr. Santos, does anybody in charge of like innovation entrepreneurship, is design thinking prevalent within your programs there?
Not yet, but we're trying to integrate it into the entrepreneurship center that we have.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is another way to take it, right? So sometimes when you're talking about process, some people need like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've also found stuff like this, like a checklisty type of thing that tends to be very well received in business and academia, because it says, step 1, I have to do this. Step 2, I have to do this. So being able to give a process like this that delineates each of the things ahead of time, right, creates a vision for the people inside that problem, right? Because if you come in with like nothing like this, right, you don't see anything, you just like, you have problems. You're like, how are we going to do it? I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. And people start reverting back to the stuff that they know, like, oh, we'll do brainstorming. Oh, we'll go away and come back and bring other ideas, later. Well, I'll tell you, most of those processes aren't very productive at all. Being able to go through something like this, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is repeatable and it's manageable, right? Because any given time now, I can say, hey, Julian, how's that process coming along? And you'd be like, great, KP, we're on prototype. Okay, so now I know where you are. And so instead of Julian just saying, KP, it's going great. Okay, well, great doesn't tell me where you are in the process, right? And great's like gets a little fuzzy, right? So now this starts saying, well, this is the step that I'm in, or you can say, this is how far I'm down on my list. Now it becomes manageable. Now you can set expectation for people involved in the process, right? So that's why I think something like this is very helpful in addressing this. And if you have processed this, that something, at least then it becomes manageable, it's measurable, God forbid, that we can get better results. And then you start looking at are we getting a return on our investment, right? So simply, you need to make a plan, execute the plan, measure the results, apply what you learn, right? So any questions about this or any of these processes?
Kevin, I wanted to just clarify. So we don't have a course or something official in terms of design thinking, but it is something that we practice, right? In bits and pieces. We do it every day, but we haven't packaged it into design thinking.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. All right. So the next one I want to talk about is change is hard to start and easy to stop, but the only path to something different. Right? How many people see things in their world they wish they could change? Yeah, of course, most people do, right? So where I want everybody to remember or to realize is that you have the ability to make change, right? But often you have to be the ones to make that change, right? And it's hard to start change. I'm going to tell you, I'm in the change business, and it's hard, right? It's not easy work. And it's easy to quit. I can tell you 10 different reasons what I hear every week why companies quit making change. But it's the only path to something different, right? That's the only way that you're going to get there, right? And this is one of the things that I find helps make change. Bad drawings and sharing bad drawings with other people, right? So those of you who saw my TEDx talk, you kind of get what the bad drawings were. And for those of you who didn't see it, right, making change usually starts about talking about the problem and then talking about potential solutions, right? But a lot of times people don't see the same things, right? So they use different words, right? Just like we have different languages, if you're in sales and you're in marketing and you're engineering and you're in leadership, you have a different vernacular in addition to a different perspective, right? So sometimes a bad drawing breaks through that down, and it breaks through the words that people get hung up on, and now you can show them process, structure, right? A bunny rabbit, like anything just to help get past the words and further your understanding of what the other people are trying to learn, right? Or trying to communicate or trying to help you see that the words aren't doing. Right? So I'm a big fan of sketch, share, listen, repeat, right? Sketch, or do your thing, share it with your friend, right? Get over it like, oh my God, my drawing's really bad, right? Because it's not about an art, it's like not an art contest. It's a communications problem, right? And then listen, right? I'll tell you the biggest mistake that I see when sharing drawings is people start defending the work before anybody said anything, right? Just don't defend it, right? It's not like, it's okay, it's a bad drawing, I get it, but now I know where the power button goes, or I get what your process is, and oh, when you said this, I was thinking this, but now you shared your bad drawing, I get it, right? And then just keep doing that. And eventually you get your ego out of the way, now you're just like, yeah, bad drawing, here, take a look. And now you can show it. So, and these are literally some of my bad drawings. I cannot draw a bunny rabbit. Any questions about bad drawings and how they can make change? I know, I just see like the wheels going. I can see this. I can see the smoke coming up. They're all just like processing. Crazy. All right, so here we go. Inspiration is not manageable and Eureka does not scale, right? So this is the one that meant the most to me. And I see it time after time after time, especially when somebody says, well, we can do this on our own. I'm like, really? So what are you gonna do? Well, we're gonna brainstorm. Really, you're gonna brainstorm? Okay, that's great, right? And then what? Oh yeah, we have a guy, the guy that came up with this thing. like 11 years ago. He's going to be there. Oh, that's great, right? It's the guy. So it's like, so I keep going back to, you remember the story that we hear about, like how Newton got hit in the head with an apple and he discovered gravity. Remember, you guys ever remember all that bad story, right? So like, how many times can you get hit in the head with an apple? Like, is that your strategy of like how I'm going to come up with new ideas? Go around sitting under trees waiting for something to happen? It doesn't scale. It doesn't give you ideas when you need ideas, man. And now you need 11 ideas. You're going to get 11 trees. I mean, like, it just doesn't work like that, So once we get past, we start using process and we start getting comfortable with process and learning better at it, right? How do we get more ideas when we need them, right? And that's where I start looking at things like an innovation funnel. So an innovation funnel is kind of a variation of what's been called a sales funnel. And it's basically this, right? A lot of people on the top, a couple people on the bottom, right? So what we're communicating through this is a multi-stage process that I call an innovation funnel. And it's where new ideas come from. You do a learn mode at the top where you put a bunch of people and you tell them about what you're going to do. And then some of those people say, hey, that sounds really great. I want to go to that workshop where I get to go do some of it. And then they come to the workshop and then they have a positive experience and then they get proof that they can do this. So now they're all jazzed up. They're like, I can do this. I have a great idea. And now the best ideas move forward into development. They get coached with a bunch of go, no-go steps, right? And then they get coached on how to best present because people are usually horrible at selling new ideas. But this is a process where this is how you start scaling on a business, right? And you can do this repeatedly. You can do multiple teams at the same time. But this is where new ideas come for businesses, right? So any questions about my innovation funnel? Has anybody seen anything like this? Well, I know. Well, then, Hannah, good thing you came tonight to be like, man, I got super smart going to this guy's thing tonight. So, all right, so let's talk about this one. Changing your behavior as a leader is the first step in becoming an innovative organization. All right. So, again, all of these lessons come from dealing with CEOs. And so many times CEOs want to have innovative companies and they invest money on people and they build out facilities and they hire expensive guys like me, right? But they never really become an innovative organization because the CEO isn't leading from the top down, right? So in business, I'm sure you've heard about like top down, bottom up type of a management, right? So this is where I think innovation has to come from the top down, because to come from the bottom up will take forever, and you'll flip CEOs by the time that like a manager makes something happen and it rises up to the CEO. You'll go through 2 or 3 CEOs. But a great CEO, even if it's not his or her strong suit, if they say, I'm not sure where we're going, but we're going to be innovative, right? You can just make it rain all from that stuff. But it starts from the top, right? This is something that is controllable, that usually doesn't cost any money, right? But it does take, for some, a leap of courage to do so. So this is one of the things I talk about, changing mindset. And then I've got some of these for you. I'll have to ship them out, right? But each of these different bands means something. And again, it's part of a process that I use in helping to make change, right? Because mindset is something that we have to affect around creativity and innovation, right? And the first one that I have is the green one, right? Challenge knowledge, right? Because often, especially as we get older, and I won't say that education is any worse than business in it, but we spent so many years learning and becoming experts that we stop learning, right? I know everything, right? I've done it all. I published books. I'm done, but you stop learning, right? You have to challenge the knowledge that you have, and sometimes that's harder for older people to do so. So younger people, please be patient with them. They're trying, but just challenge knowledge, right? Green. The second one I'll change is the red one, which is deferring judgment, right? And this is one that a lot of people are guilty of, right? How many times have you been in a group project and somebody's like, It'll never work. They're not going to let us do it. We're all going to die. Well, nobody likes to work with that person. Don't be that person, right? You have to defer judgment, right? Because it's all about potential and possibilities. The yellow one, which is increase observation. Look up, look down, look at things that you stopped looking at years ago or just never paid attention to. And then the last one will be orange, which is improve your creativity. Draw more, sketch more, feel good about failing as long as you're failing forward. And this too is how you can become the idea guy. Thank you. Yeah. So that's another little bit of a process, right? The bands are very playful, but they're a part of my process and they're reminders so that, I'll see people come in a workshop and they'll have the bands on and they'll be like, oh, that's right. I see you want to work on your creativity today, right? So it communicates to me and everybody else what you're trying to do. And then you can try and make some changes around that, right? All right, I'm just taking my notes here. So this is, again, that next process that I want you to take a look at. Any questions about this? And I noticed that we're running on time. Julian, how are we doing on time today?
We're actually pretty good, sir. You can.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Right. So this next one is something that I think is very important, right? And it's a timely lesson. Something that I learned probably about mid-March of this year, right? So what COVID started mid-January, and true story, I thought when COVID hit, I'm like, A, this is horrible. B, this is great for me, right? Horrible for the world, great for me. I'm the idea guy. I help solve problems. Everybody in the world now has problems, right? But it was crickets, right? Like two people in the same day. They're like, KP, we love your stuff, man. We got problems right now. We'll catch you later. I'm like, what are you talking about? And like, no, man, we got problems. I'm like, it literally says on my website, I solve problems, right? But nothing. So it was right about mid-March where I just realized that everyone's putting out fires. And if you don't sound like a fireman, they're not even talking to you today. It's just, it is like impending doom, end of the world. I can't get toilet paper. Come on. It's like everything is going sideways for everybody. And it was a reminder that you have to really understand, you have to be empathetic. You have to understand what it's like to be them and what they're going through. Right? It's really never about ourselves, and the more empathy we can have for others, the greater understanding that we're able to bring to these situations, right? So this is one that I really, I learned from myself as my own CEO of my organization this year. And it was really just even hard for me to try and start with people because most people didn't even know what the real problem was, right? And how many people remember Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? First one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. You guys ever see that? Like did your parents watch it? I don't know if you guys were even born when it came out, right? But there's a scene in the movie the guy where Indy realizes that the bad guys are never going to find it because they're digging in the wrong place, right? And it's often what I find with CEOs. I'll talk to CEOs and they're like, KP, listen, I got all these high-priced people already. They're going to figure it out, right? And like, I'll check in with them. Hey, how's that going? They didn't figure it out yet, right? And it's because they're digging in the wrong place. They're trying to solve the wrong problem. And this is what I saw during COVID, is that everybody has been, most everybody has been trying to figure out, how am I going to get back to the way that it was, right? And they're doing whatever they can to get back to the way that it was. Well, what's the problem? It's not like that anymore, man. And quite honestly, was it really that great where you were? No, right? So you're spending all this time and money trying to go back to a bad place. That place isn't even there anymore, right? So I'm trying to work with my CEOs now to make sure that they understand what the real problem is, and in a way where everybody understands what that problem is. So here's my construct. Right? You have to verbalize your business problem using key components, right? It all starts with how might we, because it's all about potential. Help who's the people involved in the problem. Do what, right? What are we trying to get them to do? to achieve what goal? Because you always have to have KPIs in it, right? Because you have to know, right? Am I getting closer to or farther away from my goal? And if you don't have a KPI, how do you know, right? So you'll come up with like, how might we help UOG students do what? Learn more about creative problem solving in order to identify the real problem, create prototypes, and create better solutions, right? Some things that we can measure over time, right? And then the last part is a little more, my shameless marketer in me. You got to add some fire, right? So the one thing about me putting the words right in the thing, but imagine, adding a little ad copy, a little marketing copy, right? Because there's one thing that's how might I help students be better at being a student, right? And that's one thing, right? It's how might we help, Go Tritons be awesome, more awesome than any other school in the world, right? Well, those are two very different things, man, right? It is because I added marketing to the one. They're going to do the same thing, but that fire is what creates awareness, right? That fire is what creates engagement. And that's why more people are going to come and solve your problem than go solve somebody else's problem, right? And we'll think about this, and as we were talking about islands and often islands getting overlooked, right? You look at Puerto Rico, right? Puerto Rico got crushed and they totally got overlooked, right? As soon as there was something else to talk about, most of the media was on to something else, right? And it's why they, they had the problem was still there. They just didn't frame it in such a way, right? To they were able to keep people engaged. And we could go through things over in the last year. Look at the things that we did, right? COVID, murder hornets. I mean, like George Floyd. I mean, you had like all these horrendous things. And then look at where everybody's attention left. I left one and went to another. I left one, went to another. This is the same problem with these. So I don't want you to think like when I talk about adding fire here, that's not like just shameless marketing, right? Sometimes that's mission critical marketing. How do I keep people focused on my problem through a solution? Because depending on scope and scale and the problem I'm trying to solve, I could lose funding, I could lose favor. There's the new problem of the day, especially in a world where there's a lot of problems. It's hard to get people to focus, right? So that's why I think this is really important. Okay? And then sometimes you can do boring like this, but I thought the graphic was a little more interesting. But this is just a bit of a worksheet. So this will be in the deck as well. You guys will be able to pop this out. And then a little how to do this, right? Share your problem statement. Like, first of all, write it out, right? I don't let anybody do it. Like, if they hold the paper down in class and they look up and they start reading me saying the problem statement, I know they're not reading what I wrote, what they wrote down, right? Because words matter, right? So you want to be very particular on those words that you use. Read it, get the feedback on it, and then again, don't defend it. Right? You want to make it better. And then make the changes. And then sometimes you want to tweak it for some different audiences, right? So this is a mission critical component. That's why I gave you a couple different resources in this stuff to work about. And I will offer out, Dr. Santos, if anybody in our audience needs help in constructing a problem statement, I'll give you my email at the end and you can send me your problem statement and I'll work with you through it. And do you know why? Do you know why I do that? Because most of you are so lazy, you will never hit me up on that free offer. All right, literally like 2 of you will do it. So I'm going to screenshot it and then I'll share the statistical analysis afterwards. But I'm just saying, like when somebody offers this kind of stuff, don't forget that that I'm here to help. All of your faculty is here to help. It's what we do, right? And I will, because if you don't get this right, everything else is a waste. Everything else will just be blah 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 blah. It never work, or it's hit and miss at best. Okay. Any questions about problem statements? Okay, so inactivity is the enemy of innovation. I took very much to heart your note about get them to do something, right? And this is, so it's an opportunity, it's a curse, it's a responsibility, to be able to have a college experience and a college education is a blessing, right? And there are more people in the world that don't have the opportunity that each of you have, right? I always looked at it when I was able to go to school, I wanted to make sure I did something with it, right? And it wasn't just about me. So I really want to encourage you to do something, anything, share it with someone, anyone, and then repeat it, right? Because this is what I see. Like I was said, like, I was on the 5-year plan in my undergrad program, extended learning curriculum. But I took that opportunity to explore and try stuff, and I was always doing something. And I believe in my heart of hearts, it's what created the opportunities for me. Now, and truth be told, I have failed at many more things than I have succeeded, but I was always doing something, right? And I was always doing something with somebody else, and I was sharing ideas, and some of them were just preposterous. And I have friends that to this day will remind me of this giant bad idea that I had years ago. But they also remember that I was always the guy coming up with ideas. And that's part and parcel of why, I got the moniker idea guy, it's your inactivity will be your downfall. Activity will be your path to success, right? Even if you're failing forward, even if you can come and say, KP, I bombed that thing. And I'm going to say, all right, Jared, what did you learn? And you're like, KP, this is what I learned, man. But I really bombed it up. I'm like, what else did you learn? And he's going to like, bam, bam. Then we're going to put that in the win column. And then you're not going to do the bad thing again. And you're going to build off of that learning. But I'll tell you the biggest mistake that I see is that people are going to plan, right? One day, I'm going to do this in the future. And I'm going to do this, right? We had a guy in college that we called the commander, because from a cartoon many years ago, you could Google this later, right? Commander McBragg was this guy it was Tennessee Tuxedo on that, if you remember from back in the day. But it was one of the little spinoffs. Commander McBragg always talked about, he made these big grand stories about stuff he was going to do, right? And everybody questioned, did he really do it? My grandfather used to tell my dad, he said, tell me after you did it, right? Because you don't want to be like, oh, one day I'm going to do this. No, man, just go do something, right? Even tell me you failed, but I want to hear you did something with the opportunity and the resources and those people around you that care so much every day to try and make you more educated than you were and create those opportunities. You owe it to them and to those who got you where you are and to yourself to do something. Okay. So that's my big 7 critical lessons. And I'd like to know just real quick, hopefully you have some aha moments. So Julian, I'm going to pick on you first, man. Do you have any aha moments? I see some people sharing some things in the chat, but Julian, what's your aha moment today?
My aha moment is that, no matter the circumstance, we still have to, it's better to be moving than to not move at all. And that actually really resonated with me because, with the whole pandemic, we're kind of stuck. But, if you think about it, we're not stuck, with ideas. We can just keep generating ideas. And the other thing that I really like was your first idea is not always your best. I resonate with that 100%. I have no good first ideas. So
thank you. Darren, I saw some of your time in there. What are you feeling? What was your aha moment? Was that it?
I'm sorry, yeah. Jared? Yeah. Oh. Yes, okay, sorry, yeah. What hit me was the what do you call it? Failing forward, really. Because a lot of times failure, we hear it from a bunch of with a lot of entrepreneurs and businessmen and all those who we look up to. They always say to embrace failure, and I understand why and all that, but I like how you said to, as long as you're failing forward, because to say that you're failing forward means you're also moving while you're doing that, right? You're failing, but at least you're also moving a step ahead. Right. Yep. So that really resonated with me. And of course, as I put in the chat, that kind of failure has resulted, at least personally, with a lot of inactivity. Right. Yep. And that's just me telling me that. Right. So, I'm going to be my own downfall because of this failure, not embracing it. it has caused me to be inactive. So again, so to end it with that to remind me again that inactivity will be my downfall is 100% true. So thank you for that.
Very good. Thanks for sharing, Darren. Christiana, how you doing down there? How about you? You any big takeaways for today for you?
Hello. So I learned that, just to do something, and when you fail, it's not necessarily failing, it's more of just a lesson learned. And when you learn those lessons, you're constantly going up there. So that was my aha moment.
Very good. Thank you. Hannah, how about you? What are you learning over there?
I really liked inspiration is not manageable and Eureka doesn't scale. That's something that I kind of forgot. That moment where the apple hit his head, that was like a once in a lifetime thing, once in a blue moon type of deal. So if you're in charge of having multiple ideas, you should have some type of framework instead of it just hitting you out of nowhere.
No, thank you for sharing that. Dr. Santos, I'll put it over to you. Is any aha moments for you today?
You reminded me about fire, how I need to add fire to the problem statement, right? It has to be compelling if you want people to go on this journey with you. And so it's just a reminder that whatever your focus is on, whatever problem you're trying to solve, the way to get people engaged is to add fire. So make it a compelling statement, a compelling invitation, and it needs to result in something good, right? The impact has to help people. So that was a nice reminder. There are a lot of other things. I'm going to wait for the deck because I want to go through it. I'm working on a project, and you reminded me about the role of leaders in leading change. So I'm excited about a lot of the things I learned here. I'm excited to hear what others learned. So I don't know if anyone else wants to comment. Anyone burning with a desire to share? Or
yeah,
can I?
A lot of people hiding out from the on their webcams. It's all this learning going on. Sometimes you got to process it in your own. Hey, Anita.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. That's our Senior Vice President Provost, Dr. Anita Incase.
My apologies. I'm multitasking again. I'm listening to another webinar at the moment. I'm going to go down the hall so it doesn't interfere with. Yeah. So I like the quote about inactivity is the enemy of innovation. And one of my biggest pet peeves is indecision, inability to move forward. And a number of us have maybe one or a couple of examples of folks who think that way. And for me, it's, you're absolutely right. Begin in taking the initiative to lead. And leading means taking action. Indecision, paralysis of analysis, there's no place for that. And so I greatly appreciate all the points. I apologize, I missed the first half hour of your presentation. I caught the last 20 minutes, but this is all good. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for contributing today. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah. If there's anybody else that wants to share, Iris, what do you got going on there? I know I see you clapping over there. If you have anything you want to share, and Derek, I'll invite you also if you'd like to share any insights that you may have as a colleague in innovation. I'll welcome anybody else to come in there.
Hi, Iris here. I just have to echo with what Jaren mentioned about failure, and also, the inactivity will be your downfall. And I think a lot of us will have to find that courage to step forward, to find exactly, what their passion is, and that's just a matter of finding the exact moment and having the courage to move forward with the ideas that they have. So I really appreciate all the information that you've shared with us today. And like what the Dean said, I'm looking forward to receiving your deck and using that with what I have to do with work. Yeah. So thank you.
Iris, I can predict the future on some days, and tomorrow is going to be that day for you. I'm just letting you know. I've got the sense that tomorrow is your day.
I appreciate that. I hope so.
Yeah, you let me know if it came true, right? I'm just saying, I see things.
I'll definitely connect with you.
Thank you so much. Listen, everybody, I do appreciate you coming through today. If anybody else has anything they'd like to share, I obviously welcome your contributions today. I will provide my contact information for everybody as well, right? As I want to thank everybody, right? A big thank you to everybody who was able to contribute toward today. That's my social handle. It's the idea guy with the registration mark with the R. And that's my email address. It comes directly to me. I answer my email, right? If you want to get on a phone call, I'm old school. Like, I talk to people on the phone as well. So I will put out again the offer for conversation, for feedback on things. If you have problems that you want to work through, again, take me up on the offer. Like, I'm really good at this game, and it gives me joy to be able to help others to solve their problems and to make positive change for others, right? So don't be bashful. And a couple other things you got to remember, right? If you don't ask, you don't get. Or that's one that I learned very early in life. And Darren, I think the thing that you were looking for was I am my own worst enemy. You can Google that one too. I think that's one that gets you to the same place, but somebody had said it in a different construct from before. And that's what I have for you today. Dr. Santos, I deeply appreciate you inviting me to come meet your students and your colleagues. And I look forward to an opportunity where we can contribute more in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin, for your time, for sharing your knowledge and inspiring us today. And, just for the audience, Kevin is true to his word. If you ask, right, you'll get something in return. And I asked Kevin to come on and I took a chance and he said yes. And so I'm really grateful that we had this pleasure to meet you and to be inspired by you today. So I want to know how many students take you up on the free offer. Let me know how that goes. And I think Julian has a little bit of a recognition just to present to you before we close out. But looking forward to building on some of the conversations we had earlier. So when you have a chance, reach back out to me and we'll continue the conversations.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sizus Maasi, and thank you for sporting our Big G t-shirt. And
listen, I just want to say, I got all the gear going on, man. Listen, I got it.
I love it. Awesome.
All
and
right.
So Sendunkalu na Sizus Maasi, that is, thank you very much.
I appreciate you so much. Thanks, everybody. I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, KP. We just provided you this certificate of appreciation. I think you got one in the mail. This is just to show the audience that you got one.
I know, right? It's very nice. I had some people, I'll tell you, they're like, hey man, are you going to use that? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use that. I got all my goodies right over here. So thank you. It's very kind of you.
You're very spiked out, sir.
we'll have to, I got some other stuff. We'll have to put together a little swap stuff. Or when I hit the island, I'll bring some goodies with me, right? The wristbands and so I even have, I'll show you this one. I even have the What's Your Problem coffee mug, right? So Annette, are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Right-handed. So am I. So this is how this works. So so how many times do you get students come up to you and Dr. Santos, I have a problem, right? It's early and she hasn't had her coffee yet. So on her side, she remembers, all right, Iris, she's like, all right, Iris, what's your problem? As she's trying to drink her coffee. And then Iris gets the reminder, says, well, Dr. Santos, how might we help you achieve a goal? So now Iris gets the reminder. So while Dr. Santos is trying to take her coffee in, right, that they can kind of even things up. So there's a left-hand and a right-hand version. And I'll send my link over. I got a merch store on Zazzle, which I prototype some stuff. So you can go find some of that stuff there. But we'll work on some of those more things to come. Again, you know, all this stuff, it's fun, but it's purposeful, right? There's always a reason, and I can't wait to share more of those good reasons with y'all.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This concludes the Dean's speaker series with Mr. Kevin Popović, and we'll just play out with some music.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Good night. We'll find you sooner than later. We'll chat some more. And then I'll send you guys both the deck now so you can have it. And please feel free to share with whomever.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Take
Thank you.
care.